I wanted to talk about top 3 gun myths that gun owners are responsible for spreading that they're not true. And I don't think we don't need to spread these myths anymore. And I think what we're trying to do here is we're trying to downplay, pieces of the Second Amendment to make them more acceptable to people who don't like guns. So we kind of go, oh, it's just, gee guys, it's just not this big deal. When I think we're wrong. I think we're completely wrong for doing it. So gun myth number 1, let's talk about it. Maybe you guys disagree. I don't know. I'm interested in hearing what people have to say. Next myth. So I think we all generally agreed.
Right.
Okay. Next myth is that, and this is kind of related, is that 5.56 ammo, that ARs use, isn't really all that powerful. Your grandfather's deer rifle was more powerful than a 5.56. I mean, 5.56, for God's sakes, that's practically a 22, and no one's buying that either.
I think what they're confused by is the size of the round.
Well,
it's not overly huge, but they're talking about power.
I think
Power is different.
What they're trying to do is confuse anti-gunners by the size of the round. In fact, I remember it was after NRA did a big presentation, like on like a TV presentation on one of the Fox News or something like that, and they actually took a target and they shot it with a deer rifle, and they shot it with an AR. And they showed the difference between the size of the hole. So I think what gun owners are trying to do is confuse anti-gunners by showing them the size, but we're not really telling the truth here. I mean, the reality is, 5.56 is minimum of, well, it depends, but I mean, typically 2,700 feet per second to 3,300 feet per second.
It's pretty powerful.
It's pretty powerful.
Yep.
No one's, first off, I don't want to get shot by a 22. I don't want to get shot by a 22. Nobody wants to get shot by a 5.56. The wounds of a 5.56 are devastating. It's lethal force, and it's meant to be lethal force. Now, I also understand there's this whole thing. Well, it was meant to injure and not kill, and it tumbles.
I need to stop you right there. The meant to injure thing is complete nonsense. I don't know where that.
Well, that's where I was going. It's complete nonsense. Like, this whole thing's complete nonsense. Now, the other side has their own nonsense. We just heard recently how I think it was one of the idiots on The View said that you can't hunt with an AR because it'll completely obliterate and blow their lungs out or whatever. I mean,
that's like Biden with the 9mm comment, right? It'll blow the lungs out of your body.
Yeah,
they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's not
like what 9mm is he buying? Can I get some of that?
So the idea that 5.56 isn't that powerful, and gee, why are we even trying to ban it? Total myth perpetuated by gun owners in an attempt to try to convince anti-gunners something that is not effective. Like, I don't think we should do it. All right, Alisha, what do you think? Yeah, any other thoughts on that?
I think there's a divide in there. I think that you have a lot of people that are like you say are trying to minimize and trying to kind of deceive. And then I think there's a lot of people in the gun world that don't do their research and that believe it, and I think they're buying into it too. I think quite a bit.
I think this is another lies to children type thing. This is a useful myth that comes from a need to break conditioning that people have that doesn't really come from facts. And what I mean by that specifically is that there has been a concerted effort over time, and I've seen it less recently, I think, but that's just a gut feeling. I don't have a way to measure this, but there's been a concerted effort to portray AR-style firearms as unreasonable for civilian ownership by framing them as high-powered rifles, in air quotes. And so the idea is, this is the implication is, the insinuation is to that, this is way more devastating than anything a normal person owns. To fool people who don't really know about the issue, and to make people think that they're anti-gun when what they really are is just uninformed or misinformed.
Right.
I will say this: if you want to actually compare kinetic energy delivery, which stopping power isn't a thing, it's hard to quantify in terms of number, but the best we have is kinetic energy. A 5.56 round is, approximately delivers approximately half as much as a 30-06 or a civilian spec 30-06 or 308.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's not
half of a whole lot is still
a lot.
Oh,
a lot,
sure.
you
Yes,
know?
it's
So,
absolutely a lethal round. And if you think about it for 5 seconds, then the idea of something being unreasonable because it's a high-powered rifle, quote unquote, completely falls apart. Because if we start with the understanding that someone might need to use a firearm for self-defense because it lethally incapacitates an attacker, then you would want something as powerful as possible, right? Logically.
right. Absolutely.
But the you're not allowed to hunt with it thing is completely out of left field. It's a total non sequitur. The reason, first of all, the reason in places like Virginia, for example, why you're not allowed to use 223 or 5.56 for deer hunting is because there is a minimum caliber, so diameter of the projectile requirement. And that's based on the fact that deer and other game animals have different anatomy from humans, and the intent is to ensure an ethical kill by making sure people are not using rounds that are not powerful enough. So the assumption is that something like a 308 or 30-06 will be more likely to more reliably put down a deer ethically, instantly, without it bleeding out and spraying. It has nothing to do with anything about what people should or should not, or the military utility of the cartridge, or the self-defense utility of the cartridge, or anything in that realm. It's again,
there's no case to be made that a 5.56 won't stop an attack.
Correct.
Right. That's the point.
Which
that's
is what
why we
all
own
of us
guns.
are about. So I do think that I'll tell you. The third one is before I go into the third one. I want to make sure people understand that what I'm saying here is we're in 2025. It's a different time and a different place. We have culture on our side now. We have legal precedent on our side. We have laws. We have all kinds of stuff on our side. And I think that people were being timid and apologetic about their Second Amendment. And we don't have to do that anymore. We are the good guys. We're sane, trained, law-abiding, peaceable people. So we don't have to make these excuses. We don't have to split these hairs. We should have the confidence, not the arrogance, but the confidence to say, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we own. And here's why. So I don't think we need to have to say, well, gee, golly gosh, I don't have a gun that's going to hurt anybody. This is lethal force. I mean, I think you put it really well with the term lies to children. There is no Santa Claus. And I want to own an AR-15 for self-defense, and so that one day if there ever is a need for a well-regulated militia, I'm prepared. I'm part of that well regulation. So